Hello fellow anxious people. If you're like me, you have anxiety, you also want to live zero waste, this is the video for you, which is why you probably clicked on it. I've been there, I see you, and I'm here to tell you that it is possible to live zero waste with anxiety or with social anxiety. I've had anxiety my whole life and I didn't really realize it until it got really bad a few years ago. I also hate talking to strangers, I hate calling people on the phone, I hate making special requests, I hate bringing attention to myself. So as popularly requested, I've compiled a list of my advice for how to live zero waste with social anxiety. Everything from denying straws to using your own cup to using the bulk bins and everything in between. If you have any further questions about how to live low waste with social anxiety, leave them down below and I can definitely make a part 2. Before we get into it, 2 things. If you would like to read along or you prefer reading, I do have a blog post down below that you can read along with. And 2, I am not a mental health professional, I am not a health professional. This is just advice from someone who has anxiety, so you can take what you want, leave what you don't want, and if you feel like you need to, you can seek out medical care as well. First is to practice in a place that you're comfortable with. Go to a cafe you already frequent, go to a restaurant you already frequent, with employees that you probably already know. Don't start somewhere new because then it's all going to feel crazy. You're going to be in a new store, in a new environment, with new products, with new foods. On top of that, you're gonna ask to use your own cup. For me, that just sounds impossible. So stick to somewhere where you know first to get used to asking these phrases and using your own stuff. For me, I went to my local Sprouts and I felt it out. I got used to, the aisles. I got used to my cashier before finally bombarding them with like, hey, can I use my own container in your bulk bin? Here's how much it weighs. Here's the item I got. Because most people, when they use the bulk bins, just use a plastic bag and then just write on the little tag that they give you. But I'm a little complicated. But for me, this takes away part of the anxiety because I already know the store. I already know what I'm going to get. I already know the people who work there. So then when I go to ask to do something special, it's a little less scary. Similar to that, number 2 is to just simply practice. Keep practicing, keep practicing. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. This is a tale as old as time with anything, whether that be a skill or conquering your social fears. The first time or two, just know you might fumble your words, you might mess up, you might not know the rules for bringing your own cup, or something else might happen. So just keep practicing. And a little bonus tip here is to not let a little slip up or a mess up push you back, because there really is no messing up when it comes to trying to ask to use your own cup or denying a straw. It might not go as you envisioned in your head, and that's okay. And something that has helped me be a little less anxious about everything in general is that the way strangers react, whoever I'm talking to, they're probably not reacting as severely as I think they're reacting in my head. I'm probably just making myself more anxious and embarrassed than I need to be. So just remembering that they're strangers. If this is a new place, they're probably never gonna see me again. And even if they do see me again, they will probably not remember the incident. So just keep it up, keep practicing, and eventually it will become a breeze. Number 3 is to use apps like Ecorate. I love Ecorate. This takes a lot of the stress off of using your own cup or worrying about if a cafe uses disposables off of your shoulders. I've mentioned them a few times on Instagram, but essentially this app allows you to search up a cafe and it will provide you the information on they take your own cup with no problems, or they use real cups if you dine in. So if that's something more up your alley, dining in and just using a regular ceramic cup versus getting to go and getting a disposable, that's fine as well. But this makes reducing your waste so much easier, and it reduces a lot of that anxiety of having to ask, hey, will you take my own cup? And now you don't have to be so anxious about trying a new cafe instead of just having to stick with the ones you're familiar with. Ecorate allows you to try new cafes without having that stress of figuring out if they'll take your cup or not. And this is not sponsored, this is just an app I truly, really love. Number 4 is to practice your lines and your phrases. If you have anxiety, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and you probably already do this when it comes to ordering things. I definitely do. In fact, I didn't even know that was weird, not normal. I put those in quotes because I don't like those words. Until I asked Dan, I'm like, hey, do you practice what you're gonna order in your head before you order? And he's like, no. And I'm like, okay. Anyway, this just makes ordering for me more comfortable, more of a breeze. I know exactly what I'm gonna say. I don't know if I have a fear of fumbling or a fear of being misunderstood. Not necessarily a fear, but I think it's just anxiety, man. So before I get up to the counter, if I'm at a cafe, I not only practice exactly what I want to order, but I practice how I'm going to phrase how to use my own cup. This is my standard phrase when I get a coffee to go in my own cup is, hi, I have my own cup. Will you let me use it? Great, it's 16 ounces. So I provide all that information up front. So that's a little bonus tip too. Know the size of your cup, have it ready to go, just so that there's no awkwardness around like, oh, I don't know what size it is. I don't know what sizes you carry. I just tell them the ounces and then I let them figure that out from there. And they can be like, oh, that's a medium. Oh, that's a large. And then I finish my order with, I would like a hot oat milk latte, please. Whatever. And I just practice that in my head to make sure that I'm communicating everything clearly. I'm not leaving any details out. And here are some other phrases that you can practice, or even if you're not a socially anxious person, you can just add them to your zero waste arsenal of phrases. Of course, can I use my own cup? It's this many ounces. Can you refill my water bottle, please? I have my own bags. Can you use those instead? Or I have my own bags. Can I bag my own groceries? Can I use my own container to take my leftovers home? Can I get my sandwich put in this container instead of a styrofoam container? No straw or cutlery, please, or insert whatever wasteful item you're trying to avoid. Just no blank, please. Oh, I don't need a bag for those. Similar to that one is to just know your order already, because then that takes away the stress of having to ask to use your reusables. And again, if you have anxiety, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You already do this. But this makes the whole ordeal just a lot easier, a lot more of a breeze, at least to me. Next, number 6 is to have whatever you're asking to use ready to go. If you're asking to use your own bag at the grocery store, have it ready. If you're asking to use your own cup at a coffee store, have it ready. For a few reasons. One, the cashier or whoever's working and helping you sees exactly what you're trying to get help with. And 2, you don't have to fumble for it and make a scene and like take your time, and it just feels awkward when you're doing it. So this can just avoid any awkwardness and ensure you're ready to go. Number 7, when using the bulk bins, using bulk bags or like containers that you refill at the bulk store, have your tare number ready to go and the PLU number ready to go. I still hate using my own containers for bulk because oftentimes the cashiers don't know how to manually enter the weight, the tare weight of my containers. So I try to avoid them at all costs unless I know my regular cashier is working. She's the only one who knows how to do it at Sprouts. But I've also been switching to muslin or other sort of material reusable bags for the bulk store. They are like a couple grams, so I don't really mind if the cashier messes up and charges me for those few extra grams, when instead like a glass jar is like a pound. But regardless, even if the cashiers don't know what they're doing, or if they do know, have your tare weight ready. Either have it written on the vessel that you're using or have it ready to go on a piece of paper for your cashier. And then same with the PLU number as well. The PLU number is the number of the item that you picked up from the bins. For me, when I'm using containers like glass jars, I either would just put a piece of tape on there with it all written, or I use my fancy little label maker. I don't even know where it is, to make some nice labels that are easy to read and will always be on the container. But if you don't have anything like that, you can write it on a piece of paper, hand that to your cashier, and just have it all ready to go to avoid any confusion, headache, or craziness. Number 8 is to get comfortable with rejection. In this post-pandemic world, there's still a lot of places that won't allow you to use your own stuff because of sanitary reasons. And that's totally understandable, but just be aware that if you walk into a cafe and ask, hey, can I use my own cup? They still might deny you. Some might have even done that like before COVID, but I recently flew, where was I flying? Was it recent? Oh, it was recent. I was going to a wedding in January, and I tried so many cafes. And maybe this is just an airport cafe thing, but all of them denied me. So I'm just like, you know what? You either gotta take the L and just be like, okay, fine, I guess I'm getting a disposable today. Or you can be like, okay, sorry, I'm gonna take my business elsewhere. And you don't have to say it like that. You can just be like, oh, okay, no thanks then. So just know that that sometimes happens. And a bonus tip here is to just get used to messing up. I think I mentioned this earlier, but it's just really important, and I feel like this can set a lot of people back, especially people who have anxiety. Even after years of practice, I still fumble my words, I still feel silly asking. So just process it, move on, practice, and get better next time. Or know that you're never gonna be perfect, and just accept that. Because in the grand scheme of things, if you mess up a few words, if you make it a little more awkward than it probably needs to be, it's gonna be okay. Number 9 is to know the rules of using reusables. This can just help relieve a little bit of awkwardness and a little bit of back and forth with you and the cashier. Typically, a rule of thumb is to remove any lids from your cups or water bottles so that they don't have to touch it, again, for sanitary reasons. I don't even bother asking. I just always remove the lid. I always hold on to it myself, just to avoid any confusion or awkwardness. Another rule is that some bulk stores won't let you bring in your own jars, and they require you to use bags instead. So just know that. If you have any questions, you can just ask the cashier on duty, ask anybody who works there. If they don't know, kindly ask for a manager. You could also call ahead in advance so that you're extra prepared. But just be prepared for different scenarios because every establishment is different. 10, make sure your reusables are super clean. Again, it all comes down to being sanitary. You don't want to bring a dirty coffee cup into a cafe and ask for a refill That's disgusting. Nobody wants to see that. Not only is it gross, it's also just rude. You wouldn't want someone bringing something dirty into your home, right? So don't bring it into an establishment. And another rule of thumb here is to just make sure it's really dry, just again to avoid any confusion, any suspicion that it might be dirty. Make sure it's really clean and really dry. And another rule of thumb for me as an anxious person is to use things that also look clean. And what I mean is I have one coffee cup. I don't remember if it's a reusable or one I just use at home, but it's stained so badly. So even if it is perfectly clean, it still looks dirty. So I don't bring that, just to avoid any gross looks, any miscommunication. Bring whatever looks really clean. Number 11, remember that you're not the first person to ask this, and you're probably not the last. Unless it is day one of a cafe opening, you're probably not the first person to ask this. There are so many eco people in the world, and staff are usually very accommodating, and they know how to respond to these types of situations. If an employee is new, if someone is confused, politely ask for someone else to step in, politely ask for a manager. Don't go all Karen on people. Just say, hey, I've done this before at your establishment. Could I please speak to someone else to see if this rule still applies? Just be kind and kindly explain what you're trying to do, because sometimes there might just be a miscommunication. They might not understand what you're trying to do. And at the end of the day, just remember, if it is awkward, if it feels awkward, it might not actually be awkward. Just know that you're not the first person to do this, and you're not going to be the last. Number 12, I don't know if this is really a piece of advice, but I wanted to include it anyway, and that is to just have your reasoning available. For me, as someone with anxiety, I like to always have every situation mapped out in my head, so I'm ready to go. My lines are ready. But some people are going to be curious, like, oh, why do you use a reusable cup? Why is using disposables so bad? Just be ready to have that kind of conversation with people, because people are curious. Number 13, this should be number 1. That is to be polite. And to be fair, everyone I've met who has anxiety is very apologetic, very kind, very understanding, because we're always worrying. So I feel like this is the right audience. Be nice, but also just let people know, be nice. Always be nice, okay? Always be nice. Even if you're just ordering at a regular restaurant, not even worrying about being zero waste, always be nice. But especially people in hospitality, they deal with so much. If you've never worked customer service, go work customer service. It's humbling. But people might be confused at your request. They might not understand you. Just politely explain. This goes back to just explain what you're doing. And be courteous as they learn, because they might not know what's going on. They might be a little bit anxious about the situation as well. Number 14, remember that employees are just trying to do their job. Like when I'm at the airport and they denied my reusable, I'm not gonna yell at somebody because they denied it. That's just the rule, and I'm going to abide by their rules. I'm going to respect their rules. Or if you ask them to not bag your groceries and they still bag them anyway, they're just doing their job. In their head, that's what they've been doing all day long. That's what they've been doing since day one of working there. They're not doing it maliciously. They're not doing it to make fun of you or harm you in any way. They're just trying to do their job, get their paycheck, and go home for the day. If they hand you plastic or forget about your request after you've already asked for it, it's obviously not your fault. You did your part, you tried your best. So if that happens, start brainstorming ways to recycle or repurpose that piece of single-use material. Number 15 is to just make it convenient for the employees and everyone all around. Again, this comes down to having your container ready. Having your coffee cup ready with the lid off, ready to go, with the information in your head on what size it is. Having your reusable bag out and ready, instead of like after the cashier's already scanning your groceries being like, oh, by the way, I have my own bag. And then they have to take stuff out of the bags that they already put it in, and so forth. So be accommodating to them, because they're trying to be accommodating to you. And essentially just make it too easy for them to forget or deny your request. Similar to that is to just ask to use your stuff right away. When you're making small talk at the cafe, be like, hi, how are you doing? By the way, I have my own cup, especially if you have it like in your hands right here, they're gonna see it. Or at the grocery, like, oh, hi, how are you today? I have my own bags, by the way. Just make that an initial part of the little small talk that you make with the cashier or with the hospitality service. Get it out of the way up front, especially at cafes. Normally when you order, they're immediately grabbing a cup and writing on it. If they do that, then that cup's gonna get thrown away, so you might as well use it anyway. You get the idea. Just make it the first thing that you talk about with the person that's helping you. And those are all my tips. If you have any more tips on how to live zero waste with anxiety, with social anxiety, definitely leave your tips down below. I would love to make a follow-up for this video. And I hope that you enjoyed this. Again, this was a really popularly requested topic, which I'm glad about. I'm glad to not be alone, the only person with anxiety who's trying to be zero waste. If you found any value in it, I would really appreciate if you gave it a thumbs up and shared it with other people who you think would find value in this video. Just a little announcement, I guess. This is the last video I'm filming in this house, which is crazy. If you haven't noticed, over the past few weeks, stuff has disappeared out of the background. My plants are gone, my wall hangings are gone. Not gone. My wall hangings are at Dan's mom's house. They're in storage for our next house. If you've somehow missed the news, we are both in the Air Force, we're both getting out, We're moving to Spokane. By the time you're seeing this, we'll have already been in Spokane for 4 weeks, which is crazy because we're still not leaving Las Vegas for 6 weeks. I'm filming way in advance. We're going to be living in an RV for the time being because we didn't know where we were going to end up this spring when we were starting to brainstorm where to live last spring. So we're going to be living in an RV park, which is also way cheaper rent-wise. A program called SkillBridge, which allows you to get out of the military 6 months early. You get to do an internship. You're still getting paid by the military. It is an excellent program. If you're active duty, it might apply to Guard and Reserve too. If you're in the military, check it out. It is an amazing, amazing program. So we're going to be working for Washington State Parks from April through September, and then from there, we don't really know what we're doing. Dan is applying to jobs. I'm hoping I can do this full time. It should work out so. But anyway, this is my last video in my house in Las Vegas, which is crazy. I can't believe it's been almost 2 years in this house. If you would like to see my house tour, you can check it out up here. And stay tuned for an RV tour, which I'm sure is coming soon. For May, I have planned doing a video, maybe 2, because I have a lot of content about it, talking about my entire home declutter from moving into a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house into an RV that's only 28 feet long. That's coming. An RV tour is coming. An RV tour plus like my sustainable home tour. I like to do a sustainable home tour whenever I move. I did one for my home in Japan as well. So I'll be doing like my sustainable home plus RV tour. You can check out my temporary RV tour in this video for our adventure channel, Emma and Dan, where we share our hikes and travels. What else? I'll probably also be posting in May my video about rebranding. If you haven't noticed, I did a big rebrand. I've got new brand colors, new fonts, new logos, all professionally designed, which has been very helpful. I love how it all turned out. I don't know if there's any interest in that, so if you don't want to see the rebrand video, let me know. If you do want to see it, also let me know. There's a little bit of drama. Maybe that'll entice people. It gets a little spicy with the designer. Oh, I'm glad that's in the past. Anyway, that's what I have planned for May. Let me know also what sort of content you want to see from me this summer. I can't believe spring is almost over. We're still in winter as I'm filming this. This is just so weird. Filming in the RV is going to be weird, so bear with me as I learn how to like set up and make the lighting good and everything. And yeah, as always, I really appreciate your support, whether you've been here since today, you know, 15 minutes ago, or you've been here for a couple years now. I appreciate your support as I'm moving through all these different phases of my life across the world in different countries and different states. And your support is going to hopefully allow me to do this, create content full-time this fall. So thank you so much. If you want to support me in another way, I do have a Patreon, and I will be doing so much more with Patreon when I'm able to take this full-time, which I'm really excited about. But until then, I'll see you in next week's video in the RV. And until then, remember that your small actions have a big impact in the long run. Bye guys. So as popularly this is my standard phrase when I order a what am I gonna say?